What's going on, everybody? I am back to break down the 7-game NBA DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Excited to get into it. Going to be giving you guys the top plays to get you in that green cash line tonight. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this content at any point throughout this video, would be greatly appreciated if you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. I'll be here all NBA DFS season long, breaking down these slates to help you guys become better NBA DFS players, help you win some money night in and night out. And if you are getting very serious about NBA DFS, I would highly recommend my NBA DFS premium package. You can head on over here to patreon.com/KJK_DFS. I do offer a DraftKings FanDuel package, a prize picks package if you play all of the above. I do offer a combo package at a nice discount, and I will be rolling out some MLB content. I'd highly recommend you watch some of that content, and I am rolling out an MLB DFS masterclass as well, teaching you the process of how I won over $100,000 last year if you're interested in that. Don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my lock of the night. As always, fan favorite segment on the channel. Nikola Vucevic was our lock last night. He did decent. I think they could have utilized him a little bit more. The usage wasn't quite as high as I would have hoped, but definitely didn't bust on us. And if you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, would highly recommend that you do so. Head on over here to Prize Picks. Use that promo code KJKDFS to receive an instant match deposit up to $100. Thank you to Prize Picks for being the sponsor of this video. And let's talk about it, guys. DraftKings. We're going to go game by game. Then we'll talk about FanDuel lastly. Kind of do like a, overall overview of the slate, and then we'll break down some pricing discrepancies on both websites. And the last thing I want to do before we get into that is just thank my current patrons, guys. Every one of you really does mean a lot. All the support, without your support, this channel really would be nothing. So I want to put your guys' names up on the screen, recognize you, and thank you so much. So without further ado, let's talk about it. First game on the slate, we have Utah taking on Charlotte as far as the total in this game. This game comes in with a 230.5 over-under. It's a 3.5-point spread in favor of the Utah Jazz, so it's expected to be up pace. It's expected to stay close here. Of course, both things that are important when we're looking at our fantasy lineups and who we're playing. Bogdanovich expected to continue to be out on the Utah side, so that's going to free up some more usage for some of those other guys on Utah. Same can be said for Gordon Hayward continuing to be out. But most notably, for the most part, it's pretty much the same crew of guys on both sides. Donovan Mitchell at 9K, going to be in a phenomenal spot here. Charlotte's one of the worst teams in the league defensively. They are one of the fastest teams in the league as far as pace is concerned. Looking at my defensive half-court and putbacks tools, as far as Charlotte's concerned right now, they are ranking out as 19th overall in points per possession rank, 15th in half-court points per play, 29th in offensive rebound percentage, and 27th in half-court percentage of play rank. So, a lot of points being given up by Charlotte just based on the pace alone. And it does come up with a 230.5 over-under fastest pace game on the slate. Donovan Mitchell's the highest usage guy on the Utah Jazz. Automatically going to be a guy that you really want to be prioritizing in your lineups tonight, I can tell you that much. And then with Bogdanovich continuing to be out, there's definitely some solidified minutes for other guys in this rotation. So we're going to talk about Jordan Clarkson, Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert. These guys are a little bit negatively correlated, of course, so probably doesn't make sense to be playing all of them. But mixing 2-3 of these guys in your lineup is certainly viable tonight when you're looking at the overview of the slate, 230.5, and then you look at the rest of the game environments. There's a couple that are up there with this game environment, but the others not quite as fast. So certainly mixing and matching. These guys are going to get lots of minutes. Really do like the spot for Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's going to continue to play quite a few minutes as well, as long as there is no Bogdanovich. But he did see his minutes cut last time out, so that's something to keep your eyes on. And then just looking at my projections as far as anyone else that I'd be really looking to prioritize on the Utah side of things that I can see. Royce O'Neal's only 3.9, so I think he's somewhat interesting. Hassan Whiteside's only 4.2. So, you could definitely look into that. But Rudy Gobert just looks really, really good for me right now at the first look. He's only 7,600 and priced in the mid-7K range against a really friendly matchup. I think this guy can just smash this price tag, so he definitely makes sense. Running it back on the other side with Charlotte, it's pretty straightforward. They like to run their starters solidified minutes, so we're talking about LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, and then P.J. Washington, Mason Plumlee, and Kelly Oubre, Montrezl Harrell. Those four guys are more of tournament plays. P.J. Washington and Mason Plumlee definitely receiving more minutes than the other two, so I will say that they seem to be the preferred candidates. Montrezl Harrell getting 10 to 20 minutes per game. Same can be said for a Kelly Oubre, so I would definitely rank these guys in the order of, Terry Rozier at 7.9 continues to be really cheap for the amount of shot volume he's taking on. I know he hasn't produced the best of results the last couple times out, but 7.9 and 7.8 for him and Bridges just looks really good in the 7K range. LaMelo Ball is priced more appropriately, but the upside's always there with him. 8.9, the guy can go out there and put up 60-plus DraftKings points pretty easily in a spot like this in an up-tempo game environment, so he's worth the pay up. Overall, just getting a lot of exposure to these starters that are going to play solidified minutes makes a lot of sense on the slate tonight. So Washington taking on Detroit. Next game on the slate. This game comes with a 219.5 over under to 3.5 point spread in favor of the Detroit Pistons. They are on a back-to-back, are the Washington Wizards. So I'm curious to see if Kristaps Porzingis is going to play here. He played 32 minutes last time out. 35.75 DraftKings points. So whether he plays or not, that's certainly very big news. Obviously, that would free up a lot more usage and a lot more minutes for some other guys in the rotation. And Kyle Kuzma is also listed as questionable. So we really need the confirmation on this news. But if Porzingis and Kuzma are out, obviously a lot of guys in Washington are going to be viable. We'd be looking to Advicha, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Kispert would become a much better play. Daniel Gafford would probably step into the rotation and become one of the top plays on the slate if there is no Kristaps Porzingis. So we really need that news. Once we get it, we'll know how to adjust. But until we get it, for the time being, I mean, Kristaps Porzingis and Kyle Kuzma are the top two usage guys on their respective side. They're the ones that you're really looking to load up on the Wizards side, unless they're ruled out. Then all those guys obviously get bumps up. They're cheaper. They become much better plays. On the Detroit side, it's very similar to the Charlotte team that we just talked about. They play their starters really solidified minutes, and then the backups really don't get that much run. So you're looking to go to a Cade Cunningham, a Saddiq Bey, a Jeremiah Grant, a Marvin Bagley, and trying not to negatively correlate yourself. So playing a maximum of two of these guys is probably the smart way to go, because obviously they can't all get you there, and it's a little bit unpredictable as to who's going to have the biggest game outside of, we know Cade Cunningham, similar to LaMelo Ball, is priced up appropriately, but he's always going to have the most upside of the whole crew. So playing Cade Cunningham and then playing, one of Saddiq Bey, Jeremiah Grant, Marvin Bagley certainly does make a lot of sense. Can be a little bit unpredictable as to who has the biggest game, but if you're mixing and matching these guys in your lineups, if you're playing one lineup, whoever falls, in the right salary, in the right position, put him in your lineup. If you have Saddiq Bey at the small forward spot, 7,300 left in your lineup, good play. Jeremiah Grant at 7-1, same thing at the power forward position. So that's just kind of the way it's going. Like this, very similar to the Charlotte team we just talked about. It's the way it breaks down. So Golden State Warriors taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Next game on the slate. This game comes in with a 221 over/under to 2.5 point spread in favor of the Atlanta Hawks. Expected to be up pace here. Fantastic matchup for the Golden State Warriors that we know are now without Stephen Curry, without James Wiseman still. So a lot more usage to go around for guys like Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins. Those three guys really want to play a bunch of. Draymond Green continues to be limited in his minutes. Did get all the way up to 29 last time though. So that's pretty good, encouraging sign for him that he's probably not going to be limited too much longer. He might be worth taking some shots on a tournament at a 6.5 price tag. I don't hate that, honestly. And then Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, just playing a ton of these guys it really makes a lot of sense to me. Once again, no Stephen Curry, a huge bump up. Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, all just phenomenal plays, all three of them. They're all going to look really good in my projection model for sure. Just the matchup, the pace, everything matches up for these guys to have a big game. And I do think Otto Porter continues to be a pretty interesting option as well off the bench. He's 4.6, really good fantasy point per minute producer, and he's had some really big games coming off the bench. So he's someone that I'm always willing to get some exposure to in my tournament line. It's 42 and 37 DraftKings points the last two times out, only playing 29 and 26 minutes. But when he comes off the bench, he gets all the usage with that second unit. So that's something I talk about oftentimes, like Jordan Poole, Thompson, and Wiggins, Draymond Green, etc. They're all battling for usage with that first unit. Whereas Otto Porter comes in off the bench, he's going to get a lot of usage. And he's been rebounding like crazy. 15 and 16 rebounds the last two times out. I don't know how sustainable that is, but he's essentially playing like the backup five kind of role here and snagging a lot of rebounds. So certainly something worth monitoring. And Draymond Green does look pretty good, man. I've got him projected for 28 minutes right now, 1.07 DraftKings points per minute. Would be nice if we knew he was getting those solid upside minutes. We don't, but I think that makes him a phenomenal tournament play is the thing. So, and then on the other side with Atlanta, it's Trae Young, it's Bogdanovich, it's Clint Capella, it's Kevin Huerter, it's Gallinari, it's Hunter. That's the core. With there being no John Collins, Gallinari and Hunter are going to continue to stand out as much better plays. Gallinari, 30 minutes, 41, 30. The minutes are much higher. Same can be said for DeAndre Hunter. More usage, more minutes. Gallinari definitely gets the biggest bump with Malcolm Collins, though. He just becomes a much better play. And then Huerter and Bogdanovich, always going to be high upside plays that get shots in the wing and off the bench. I will say Bogdanovich, very similar to the situation we just talked about with Otto Porter, is the sixth man. So when he comes in, he gets all the usage. For that reason, he's my preferred option here. But he does come at a little bit heftier of a price tag than a Kevin Huerter. But that's kind of how that breaks down. And then obviously, Trae Young. Going to be a fantastic play here at 10-7. He's always a great play on DraftKings. I mean, the guy always grades out as a pretty great play for me on DraftKings just because of the 3-point bonus and you factor in everything. But the price tag has come up quite a bit to where I will say I'm not sure he's going to be too much of a priority for me as a pay-up option tonight. He's definitely a good play, but there's some cheaper options, like such as a Donovan Mitchell that we discussed earlier in the video. That's only 9K. That's a Charlotte squad in a more, up-tempo game environment. And I think he has a comparable usage rate, so probably would lean towards going like Mitchell, for example. But New York Knicks taking on the Miami Heat. This game should be an ugly one from a game environment aspect. It's only a 215.5 over/under. Both teams play really slow paced. For that reason, tell you that I'm not going to want to have a lot of exposure to this one outside of the injury news, possibly opening up some more usage and minutes for some guys that are underpriced, which is a possibility because there's a lot of injuries in this one. So we have Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero both listed as questionable. Obviously, very big pieces of news. If these guys are out, we don't even know really how to talk about it right now because Tyler Hero's listed as questionable. Jimmy Butler's listed as questionable. Oladipo's out. Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent. So this could end up being like just a ton of value. Max Struss could end up being one of the top plays at the slate at only a 3.8 price tag. Obviously, if Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero are out, that's going to immediately scream Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry exposure to us. Even though it's not the best game environment, they're going to get all the usage, all the minutes. Kyle Lowry specifically at a 6.5 price tag, very, very cheap too. So he'd become like one of the top plays on the slate. A little bit difficult to talk about without knowing that though. And then on the other side, Julius Randle's listed as questionable. Once again, very big piece of news. If he's out, it's immediately going to make us like RJ Barrett a lot more, Alec Burks a lot more, Evan Fournier a lot more, all the other Knicks starters that are going to see an increase in usage. If he's in, obviously, can't really go there. Jericho Sims could get the start at center as well with Mitchell Robinson being out, so that's certainly worth monitoring. If he does at a 3-4 price tag, that's really cheap. 26 minutes last time out. He only put up 14 DraftKings points, but I think he has a lot more upside than that, so he's someone to keep your eyes on. And yeah, overall, the only reason we're going to get exposure to this game is if the injuries come out. If everyone's in and everyone's healthy, that's just not a good game environment. So we are going to be waiting on that. Dallas taking on Minnesota. Next game on the slate comes in with a 228 over/under. It's a 2-point spread in favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Expected to stay close. Expected to be up pace. So that's always fun to be targeting. Minnesota, top team in the league in pace, or one of the top teams in the league in pace, which is automatically going to make us like Luka Doncic a ton at 12-1. There is no Kristaps Porzingis in town. He's the sole usage guy. Hasn't had the biggest of games the last couple times out, and he did just barely take on this Minnesota squad in a game where he played 38 minutes. In the game, did have a 110 to 108 score, and he still only put up 38 DraftKings points. So that's a little concerning. You would think he would score a lot more than that, but what can you say, man? He's still going to be a fantastic play. The game environment's great. The usage is there. Everything makes sense. And then Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie are going to take the biggest hit with him being back in the equation. I would say playing one of these guys is always going to be viable. If you fade Luka Doncic, I think playing both of these guys could be an interesting way to fade Luka and then still get exposure to this game on the Dallas side and just say that, these guys take enough usage away from him and have big enough games to where Luka doesn't get there. Not a bad strategy, actually. That might be interesting to do. And then Karl-Anthony Towns listed as questionable in this one. If he's out, of course, that's big news. Once again, a guy that has a lot of usage. If he comes out, D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards become two of the top priorities on the slate. They would immediately both get very, very big bumps in usage. And then we'll also be taking a pretty heavy look to whoever gets the replacement start for Karl-Anthony Towns. So not really sure who that would be. Jared Vanderbilt, I think, would probably be a good contender to get a lot more minutes, a lot more run. In a 4 or 5 price tag would look very, very good. So certainly interesting to be keeping our eyes on there. Houston taking on Portland is the next game on the slate. This game comes with a 234.5 over/under. It's a 3.5-point spread in favor of the Houston Rockets. So this game is expected to be very fast-paced. For that reason, we're definitely going to want to have a lot of exposure. We do have some more injury news. Hart, Anthony Simmons, both listed as questionable. Obviously, very big pieces of news. These are the top 2 usage guys on the Portland side. So if they're in, they're going to be great plays in this fast up-tempo game environment. If they're out, then whoever starts for Portland would be a early great play. Winslow got hurt and didn't return Wednesday, so another guy. So once again, we need the injury news, but regardless, whoever gets the start should be looking like a really good play here. I mean, it's expected to be Chris Dunn, Brandon Williams, CJ Ellaby, Watford, and Eubanks right now. If that's the case, those guys all look like phenomenal value plays. They're just going to play a ton of minutes in a great game environment against the Houston Rockets team that ranks dead last in the league defensively on my half-court and putbacks tool over here, points per possession rank. Always love targeting the Houston Rockets. And they're just going to look like really great plays, so definitely worth monitoring. Garrison Matthews looks like a pretty great play here as well on the Houston side. I mean, Houston, as far as their injury report is concerned, does look like everyone's going to be healthy on their end. So Not nearly as interesting as the other side. Kevin Porter and Christian Wood continue to be the top 2 options for me on Houston. It's fairly simple. I mean, those guys look the best. And then if you're looking to fade them, kind of like the strategy we talked about with Minnesota, you could be playing other guys like a Jalen Green, like a Dennis Schroeder. Just hoping that they come in and have bigger games. Maybe the Houston starters get in foul trouble. But, I mean, Chris Dunn is going to look like a really great play here if he does get the start at a 4-5 price tag. LOB, I mean, this is where all your value is going to come from the Portland side of things here at very cheap price tags against a very easy opponent. Drew Eubanks, Trent Wofford, both going to look like really great plays that play in the mid to upper 30s. Brandon Williams also going to be a great play. So we'll definitely be loading up on the Portland side if we get confirmation that there's no Josh Hart and that there's no Justice Winslow, no Anthony Simmons. And then on the Houston side, like I said, it's really Christian Wood, it's Kevin Porter. That's about it. Last game on the slate, we have Philadelphia taking on the LA Clippers. This game comes with a 221.5 over-under. It's a 5.5 point spread in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers. So not the best game environment. Is expected to stay close, though, which will automatically make us have a little bit of interest in Joel Embiid, James Harden. If they get their full allotment of minutes, their per-minute production is very good, of course. So they're always going to be intriguing plays. Joel Embiid is my preferred option. I think that he continues to be kind of number 1. James Harden is number 2. And then if you're fading those guys, Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris are the easiest ways to get leverage off of them. It sounds like we're kind of repeating ourselves here, but they're cheaper. If they have big games like 34 and 37 DraftKings points, chances are, James Harden probably didn't have the big enough game that he needs to have at a 10K price tag. So it's kind of easy leverage, easy way to fade off those guys. And then on the LA Clippers side, Reggie Jackson continues to see a lot of minutes. We have seen that on some of these games, he's been limited. But that's kind of on back-to-back. The last time these guys played was on the 22nd, 3 days, so it should be good. He should be good to go. Vika Zubac, Marcus Morris, the other guys, inconsistent minutes for Zubac, so that's a little bit dicey. But I would say Marcus Morris and Terrence Mann are the next guys in line. And we have seen Hartenstein producing at a pretty high rate off the bench as well, especially if there's no Robert Covington in this one. Just keep your eyes on that news. If he's out, Nicholas Batum, Marcus Morris, I think get more of a workload. But I also do think that gives a bump up to Hartenstein, believe it or not. So just keep your eyes on that news. But that's my overall breakdown, guys. Of course, we got to talk about FanDuel. We just talked about the overall slate. We got a good overall overview of it. But as always, I just like to look at the pricing discrepancies on my model, see if there's anything really crazy standing out. And there definitely is. I mean, D'Angelo Russell is 5'9" over here on FanDuel. He's someone that immediately pops to me, especially if there's no Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, this guy looks good regardless, but it's a 228 over under. He's really, really cheap, and the same can be said for Jared Vanderbilt. Jared Vanderbilt's 4.2, so these are 2 guys that we just discussed, especially if there's no Karl Anthony Towns. These guys look decent as is, to be honest with you. Right now, I've got them, projected pretty hefty as far as wanting to get exposure, man. They're just really cheap over here, so they make sense. Kyle Lowry's only 6'1", especially if the Jimmy Butler news comes out and, some of these other guys are out. So I talked about Kyle Lowry possibly becoming one of the top plays on the slate. He's only 6'1" over here on FanDuel. Does look good on both websites. A lot of what we discussed kind of applies over here, as always, but I just want to make sure. I mean, Klay Thompson's a lot cheaper over here on FanDuel, so he becomes a lot easier to be playing on a site like FanDuel. We talked about wanting to get a lot of exposure to all these Golden State Warriors guys. Jordan Poole's all the way up to 7'8". Klay Thompson's all the way down to 6'6". So they're making it kind of easy on you to want to get a lot of Klay Thompson exposure. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the other stuff, we are waiting on a significant amount of injury news on this slate, unfortunately. So, I mean, not unfortunately, it's fine. There's going to be other value plays and good plays that open up, but right now there's a lot of question marks. So, but those are a few of the guys that really stand out to me over there on FanDuel from a first look. Luka Doncic looks really good at a 10-4 price tag. That's much more affordable than over there on DraftKings. Makes it kind of easy to want to be getting exposure to him, especially if we get all that Portland Trailblazers value that we discussed. Donovan Mitchell, 8'5", does look really great as well. So yeah, I mean, does look like a lot of the same stuff. Bam Adebayo at 8'3" would become a much better play if there's no, Jimmy Butler and all those Miami Heat guys as well. But that is my overall breakdown, guys, of this nice 7-gamer. Before I let you guys go, of course, I got to give you my lock of the night. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. If you haven't checked out the premium content packages, go ahead and check them out. I got to get the new logo and graphics up over here. So hopefully I'll do that today. Life catches up with you. I was hoping to get those up last night, but a lot going on. And then if you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, check them out, guys. Use that promo code KJK DFS to receive that instant match deposit up to $100 today. Thank you for them being the sponsor of the program. Thank you to anyone that signs up using my promo code. It does help me out tremendously. So Appreciate it, guys. But without further ado, got to give you my lock of the night. Let's get into it. And my lock of the night tonight is going to be Donovan Mitchell. Taking on this Charlotte Hornets team that ranks 4th overall in the league in pace and is not good defensively, 26th in the league, 25th against his position. He puts up 1.28 DraftKings points per minute on the season, only priced at $9K as far as FanDuel is concerned. 8.5 puts up 1.23 FanDuel points per minute. Great up-tempo game environment with only a 3.5-point spread expected to stay close. We know Donovan Mitchell leads his team in usage, and I don't think the price tag's high enough to limit his ceiling from really getting you there in tournaments tonight. Get him in your lineups because he is my lock of the night. So there, guys, Donovan Mitchell, get him in your lineups, and that's all from me. Really do appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Wishing you all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.